Morning, everyone. Welcome to the SDG Media Zone for a new day at the COP22. We have today here with us Professor Jeffrey Sachs, and it's an honor for all of us to have him here and to be able to talk about all the events that have been going on here at the COP22, to have his views about that and to talk about energy, climate change, and of course the SDGs. So good morning, Professor Sachs.
Great to be with you.
Thank you for coming here. Yeah, we're going to start, after all these days of COP22, we have seen like a lot of exciting meetings and interactions, especially after all the political events. There is a pretty optimistic atmosphere for what I can see here. How do you see, what is your summary of what you have seen here at the COP22?
I'm excited by what I see. You know, I think things are moving to the real implementation phase now. We're in a building, we're in the SDG zone, but all through this building are companies saying, look at our technologies. We can get greenhouse gas emissions way down. We have renewable energy solutions, microgrid solutions, really tremendous things. I was lucky for the last 3 days to be co-hosting a meeting called the Low Emissions Solutions Conference with the government of Morocco, with the World Business Council of Sustainable Development, and with ICLEI, the Urban Sustainability Network. And we just saw solution after solution after solution. Cities already moving to net zero carbon, new technologies, new advanced fuels and zero carbon energy systems. So I'm very encouraged. We still have all the politics, all of the difficulty of getting all of our governments moving as fast as they can. But we definitely have now the pathways, the vision, and the technologies to make this work.
And it seems that what you are saying, and there is always have been a lot of worries and a lot of concern about politics and about, whatever, even the events of the US and other countries, but it seems that innovation and this drive for, competition, innovation, and technology can overcome a lot of those kind of political regulation barriers.
Somebody said something interesting to me yesterday. They said at the Copenhagen COP, which was 2009, the governments were kind of ahead and the businesses were nowhere to be seen and were dragging their feet, whereas in Paris and in this year, the businesses are way out there saying, we can do this, we have the solutions, and the governments, many of them are running, but many others are not absolutely clear, but technology is really moving forward. I think the engineers have said, okay, for the first time we've been asked control greenhouse gases. So you've got a lot of brilliant engineers in the world. You're part of that world, and you've made great contributions. And when the engineers get their hands around something, they're able to find very practical ways forward. That's going to be the key.
Yeah, that's good news, and in the sense that politics play a little bit of less of a role. Talking specifically about the SDGs and energy, there are a lot of challenges and there is a lot of balances to be made. Sustainable energy for all, for example, has 3 major goals, which is increase energy efficiency, increase the share of renewable energies and cut carbon emission. At the same time, achieve universal energy with the population growth in Sub-Saharan Africa, East Asia. How do you see that particular SDG goal? How do you see that balance between, increase the renewable, but achieve that universal access of education?
Absolutely.
To energy.
We really have 2 SDGs for energy in effect. SDG 7, which is, as you just described it, renewables but universal access and scale up with efficiency, and SDG 13, which is to control human-induced climate change. Some people say that's a contradiction, but the point is it's not a contradiction. We need to scale up energy access and energy use, but at the same time, we have to make sure that it's a zero carbon energy, that we're moving really to a climate safe energy system. And energy efficiency, of course, is the smartest way to do it in many cases, because you just don't need to worry about the emissions in the systems if you're able to get more services per unit of energy input. And there are a lot of advances in making our appliances safer, making our buildings safer, making the industrial uses of energy far more efficient than they've been. So you can cut sharply the amount of energy that's needed, we now can tap into renewables much better. We had a great talk yesterday by our friend and colleague, Professor Vijay Modi, and his colleagues on smart grids, how to really manage grids where you have a lot of intermittent energy that's coming in, and the grid's quite complicated because it's not one power generation going out, but it's multiple generators, small and large scale, integrated into one system. So I think there's a lot of advance. Now we have to start putting this on the ground because we know there's also a learning curve. So to really get costs down, to really improve performance, there seems to be no substitute to actually doing it, learning from it and moving down that learning curve.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, to finalize, but to touch a little bit more on that issue. In the issue of universal access, we have these technologies. We know that they're getting very mature, and pretty much we are getting to a point that are like commercially viable. What is missing from the policy side in many of these countries, in developing countries, for example, to really get this going? Because what we see is a lot of scattered efforts by many innovative companies, but it hasn't fully taken off for like rural electrification, for example.
I think there's been a lot of learning. Of course, the decline of the costs of photovoltaics has been fundamental because now it puts within reach solar energy just about everywhere. Wind power also has had dramatic declines of costs. Yesterday we had a good discussion of smart grids, microgrids, and nanogrids. Nanogrids meaning one building in effect that's on a grid for its internal system. Wow, what a great advance in technologies and business models and energy systems. I think it's about to take off in a very big way because you've been involved in demonstration projects. You've shown how it can work. We've seen a lot of learning. The electronics has been improved. The PV costs are coming down. Governments are saying, hey, we need that. We want those votes of voters. People are saying, we need to charge our phones. So we need electricity at home for sure. And by the way, when we're charging our phones, we need a light bulb, we'd like a refrigerator, we'd like a small cooker. And so the demands for modern energy services are soaring in poor rural areas. But now it's possible to meet the costs there and the price points for even very poor communities. So I see this as taking off. I think some smart financial help in the sense that we do for many development programs could accelerate this. So I always am calling for a bit of extra help for the poorest of the poor so that they can be part of this. But I see market models taking off in many places.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of the sense that we have gotten here from the COP22. There's that optimism that the technology and the solutions are there.
One thing I should say is that I'm really delighted to see the SDG zone here, and thank you for doing this. You know, the Sustainable Development Goals encompass a wide range of areas: health, education, infrastructure, jobs, training, gender equality, reduced economic inequality, and so on. But none of it's going to be successful unless we get the climate change under control. So the marriage of the Paris Climate Agreement incorporated into SDG 13 and all the rest of the other 16 Sustainable Development Goals are really a package deal. And the steps that we're taking to fight human-made climate change, for example, moving to zero carbon photovoltaics, is also part of achieving the other SDGs. And without climate sanity, we're not going to make it on any of these. So this is a real marriage, the overall Sustainable Development Agenda and the climate agenda.
Well, I think that's a very powerful message that we can all take home, and how those SDGs interact with each other and focus on climate change. We want to thank you so much for having taken the time, for being with us.
Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for continuing being a champion on the SDGs and all those issues, and hope to see you more in the future.
We will.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.